Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And since this week is the week of April Fools, I thought it would be fun to do a bunch of reviews for spoof comedy films. A spoof film, by the way, is a comedy where either the entire movie or just large sections of it are specifically making fun of either one or multiple other films, television series, and other media. So the first one I'm starting with is one of my favorites, and that's the 1980 film Airplane. Here is your trivia question for today. Ted Stryker has PTSD, but what other issue does he deal with? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, in the film Airplane, we meet a lovely couple, Elaine Dickinson and Ted Stryker. Now, unfortunately, Elaine is getting tired of this relationship as she feels that Ted puts no effort into it. So, her plan is to head off on her next flight as a stewardess and just move on with her life after that. Ted, who does not want this relationship to end, decides to do something drastic. He buys a plane ticket and sneaks aboard, hoping to be able to talk to Elaine. Now, for a good portion of the flight, everything seems to be going just fine. At least until disaster strikes. Some of the passengers begin to become very sick. There's also a young girl on board that if she doesn't make it to the destination soon and get to the hospital that she needs to go to, she may end up dying. Now, to make matters worse, the entire flight crew ends up getting the same sickness as some of the passengers. Ted Stryker may not have meant to be on this plane at first, but it turns out to be for the best, as he's the only one with flight experience. Although it is from the war, and he is still dealing with PTSD whenever it comes to flying. Ground control is also doing everything possible to talk him into being able to bring the plane down. Elaine also tries to do what she can to help out. But can these two not only fix this dilemma, but also their relationship while bringing all of the passengers back down to the ground safely? So this film had three directors and three writers: Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker. The movie was almost directed by Joe Dante. Now, all three directors make cameos throughout the film. You have Jim Abrahams as the second religious zealot who gets pushed aside by Captain Rex Kramer. And then Jerry and David Zucker appear as the ground crew that mistakenly end up crashing the airplane. Speaking of that sequence when the plane crashes through the window, that scene actually cost $40,000 to make, and they were only able to do it with one take. Did you happen to know that Abrams and the Zucker brothers' original spoof comedy film was the Kentucky Fried Movie? And that Airplane was originally written as a movie within the movie of the Kentucky Fried Movie. There are actually some similar character names and references in the first film to this one. Did you happen to know that there was also a different title originally for this movie called Kentucky Fried Airplane? This film was originally pitched as National Lampoon's Animal House, but on a plane. Also, the directors wanted to do the movie in black and white. Paramount Pictures loved the pitch, but did not like the idea of it being in black and white, so that did not happen. Now, I might be missing some references, but to the best of my knowledge, the movies that get spoofed in this film are Zero Hour from 1957, Jaws from 1975, From Here to Eternity from 1953, Airport 1975 from 1974, Saturday Night Fever from 1977, The Hunters from 1958, Crash Landing from 1958, and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World from 1963. The character of Ted Stryker in this film is played by Robert Hayes, who in real life was a licensed pilot. What you may not know, though, is that the character of Ted Stryker was originally offered to David Letterman, who ended up turning it down as he thought he was just not capable of it. There were also some other possibilities of people playing Ted Stryker before Robert Hayes: Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Fred Willard, Robert Wool, Barry Manilow, and Bruce Jenner. The role of Elaine Dickinson was played by Julie Haggerty, and this was actually her cinematic debut. Now, aside from Haggerty, two other possibilities of actresses playing Elaine were Sigourney Weaver and Shelley Long. Now, the vast majority of the primary co-stars that appear in this film were made up of actors that had little to no comedy experience. But that is exactly why Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, and Leslie Nielsen were chosen, because in comedy terms they were supposed to be the straight man. What's interesting though is Leslie Nielsen's character of Dr. Rumack was not supposed to be a straight man character, as originally the studio wanted Dom DeLuise to play that character. The directors, however, did not want to go that route. But before deciding on Nielsen, some other actors that were also up for the Doctor role were Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, Jack Lord, and Jack Webb. There are also quite a few cameos throughout this film. You have basketball player Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was cast as a joke since the football player Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch played a similar role in the movie Zero Hour, which they are primarily spoofing throughout this film. Now, before going with Kareem Abdul Jabbar, another athlete that they reached out to was Pete Rose, but unfortunately, it was baseball season at the time and he could not do it. Ethel Merman also had a brief cameo in this film, which would unfortunately be her final acting role. We also get a quick cameo from James Hong. There's also a blink and you'll miss it cameo from this windshield wiper who is played by Jimmy J.J. Walker. Lee Bryant plays the hysterical passenger Mrs. Hammond. Now, there's a sequence where the stewardess slaps her to try and get her to calm down. But did you know that it was Bryant's idea to have multiple passengers continue to keep slapping her? Bryant has also said that of all the fake slaps, Leslie Nielsen was the only one that actually cracked her across the face, but she took it like a champ. Al White and Norman Alexander Gibbs were allowed to completely ad lib all of their jive talking. The lady who was apparently also able to talk and jive was played by Barbara Billingsley, but that role was originally offered to Harriet Nelson. Nelson turned it down, though, due to the adult language in the film. She has since said that she regretted it. Here's something else I found amusing. Billingsley actually played the mother in the television series Leave It to Beaver, and Nelson played the mother in the television series The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. This actor here, who is mauled by the Golden Retriever, is Craig Berenson, who would actually go on to become a producer, and his most successful film that he produced is actually Snakes on a Plane. Otto the Automatic Pilot not only gets a credit in the end credits, but on IMDb, he actually has an acting credit with this one film. Did you happen to know that the airline Aero Mexico was the only airline to buy this film for an in flight entertainment? Speaking of airlines, the two airport announcers that have an argument about the red and the white zones were actual announcers from the Los Angeles International Airport. Now, as you've probably figured out, this movie was entirely filmed in California. And if you're not aware, there is actually a sequel to this film, Airplane 2, the sequel, which I will definitely be doing a review for as well. So when it comes to the film Airplane, I love this movie. I still laugh at it to this day, and I still quote it because there's so many very quotable moments throughout the film. I also find it fascinating that this film is considered responsible for killing off disaster movies for a decade, as no one could take them seriously anymore. So for me on my scale, I'm giving Airplane a 4 out of 5. And if you like this film, other movies I recommend checking out are The Naked Gun, Hot Shots, Top Secret, and The Kentucky Fried Movie. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. Ted Stryker has PTSD, but what other issue does he deal with? Ted Stryker also has a drinking problem, and because it's a spoof comedy, they mean that literally. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And if there are any spoof comedies you think should get a trivia review, mention them in the comments. You might see them this week, or who knows, maybe next year I'll do this again.